Welcome to the Good Good podcast. I'm your host, Dee Talley, mama, licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, and embodiment coach. Here we dive deep into the realms of energy, consciousness, awareness, empowerment, and personal transformation to help you create a more vibrant and juicy life. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me. This is the Good Good with Dee Talley. I say this every time, but thank you so much for being here. So I know we have all this content to dive into, but I just have to say something before we start that. So this past week, I dropped the My Story, and I am just like full of so much emotion surrounding the drop, but also the fact that I have gotten so many people reaching out to me who has been telling me their stories and saying, hey, your experience is like mine. And hey, you know, I didn't understand my trauma response until I saw this. And I was literally driving home today from the office with tears streaming down my face. And I can feel it even as I'm talking to you. But I just want to say that it's a fucking honor. It's an honor. It's an honor to be able to listen to your stories and to hear what you have to say. And I can't even fully put it into words. Okay, so with that, we're going to get started on our content for today. So today's podcast is about how to enhance your health preservation this fall. So how many people have felt like they have gotten hit by a bus during this season change? I mean, it's all the things. It's like sick kids. It's like going back to school. It's like, see, all the things like daylight savings, tons of crazy weather patterns. We're all kind of in it, right? So, my friend, as a microcosm of the macrocosm, our bodies are governed by the same laws of the universe. So what does that mean? It means that the phenomenon that we see in nature directly applies to our bodies. So the natural rhythms, the seasons, the predictable characteristics, and all the world interactions can be seen in our physiology. So we're going to talk TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, physiology. So I'm well aware that this might be different from like Western physiology, and that's okay. But I want to say that element wise in TCM, the fall is ascribed to metal. So with metal, the weather is dry. The movement is withdrawing. The color is white. The organ is the lung. The bowel is the large intestine, the sense organ is the nose, and the tissue is the body hair, and the emotion is sorrow or grief or melancholy. So let's first talk about the lung. So what the lung does from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective is it thrives by purity. So it governs the down bearing. You take in the O2, right, the oxygen, and you release turbid carbon dioxide. So oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. It governs qi. So it diffuses that qi outward as well to our skin surface. It opens and closes the pores of the skin. It depurates the fluid down and through our organs and eventually to our kidneys. It opens to our lungs. So as we make qi, we take in the air from the lung, and that gets mixed in with the essence that our spleen and stomach breaks down from food. And it mixes with our kidney essence as well and creates qi. Now, there's different categories of qi. And you can liken this kind of to like when a woman is pregnant and she's creating all these different cells. The cells have specific jobs. Like you have the cells breaking down, and then you have all these cells going to make a heart. You have all these cells going to make a brain. You have all these cells going to make an eyeball, right? So similarly, there's different categories of qi. So the lung governs the relationship between the inside and the outside of the body. So it's the interface between internal and external. It collects, it mixes, it scatters in a rhythmic fashion. And it's considered the canopy organ. So that means that it's the first affected when there are disease evils. It can be affected similarly to exterior weather patterns. which would be like a cold or a flu. Now, when we talk about the lung qi and all the different types of qi, there's a specific type of qi called wei qi. It resides on the exterior surface of the body, and it functions to protect us, right? We were just talking about how the lung governs the opening and closing of the pores. If you are somebody who has weak wei qi and your lungs are weak in general, you most likely will have porous boundaries, which we can start to get a little bit more into qi suckers. And so you can also think of this like fall can be a really tough time for people who are really porous, because it's like it feels so mopey because things come in and they stick. It feels like they stick. So if you're somebody who's prone to lung problems, you would get sick easily. You'd have asthma or allergies. You might have a stuffy or a runny nose. But essentially, if that deficiency exists, then you would have laxity of the skin in terms of the biofield, and energy can just slink right in and stick. So that would make you a target for somebody who is a qi sucker. So that's an individual who saps your soul of your life force because maybe they seek external validation, or they have a negative body language, or their neediness, or they speak ill of others, or they're self-righteous. They're looking to be fixed. And because you are deficient in your lungs and it's fall and all the things and you could potentially be a pretty easy target in general. And also, it's not just qi sucker, but this idea and concept of the qi suck. Qi suck means, yes, a person, but also a place or a thing, something that saps your soul, your energy, your life force. And this could be a person, but it could also be a place. It could be the presidential election. It could be social media. It could be a location, a geographical location that you just feel like, ugh, about. So it strives to create purity, and it releases turbidity. Its paired shared organ is the large intestine, which does a similar thing, right? So just as the lung dispels the stale carbon dioxide, the large intestine releases the turbid poop, right? So we separate what we no longer need or desire in the body with these two organs. Because it's the interface between the internal and the external, basically setting limits, protecting boundaries, instilling rhythm and order. This is the ease by which we are able to let go of unnecessary thoughts, feelings, attachments, control. Letting go can be seen as an extreme loss of control, and it can provoke this urgent desire to make our self-regulation more strict. And so what is sacrificed here? Security, relaxation, flexibility. Those are the sacrifices to this. So physical and spiritual masters say that by controlling your breath, you can achieve mental clarity, emotional tranquility, and physical vigor. We understand this, right? Like breath work helps us directly regulate our nervous systems. Further, we go into the emotion of what the lung is paired with, and that's grief, sadness, melancholy. But too much can damage the lung. So it's normal in a sense to feel a little bit more of a grief, sad this time of year. It's a balance, right? Too much can cause that damage. If we can't eliminate what's old, it doesn't leave any room for anything new or fresh, which creates a sense of staleness or stuffiness or lifelessness. I took like a couple of excerpts from TCM books because I'm like, damn. So being unable to release suppresses physical and emotional responsiveness. We armor ourselves, and it causes hardening of the protective envelope of the psyche. The skin and muscle layers become tight. The deep diaphragmatic muscles become tense and tight. And emotional restriction creates a lack of creativity and an inability to adapt. Oof. So the lung is a source of inspiration. It creates space, it creates open space so we can take in new ideas. So other physical symptoms associated is things like asthma, constipation, stiffness of the neck, spastic colon, right? So in TCM life cultivation, which I have to pause and say that I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving you medical advice, but what I am giving you is little tidbits of health preservation from a traditional Chinese medicine aspect or point of view. And so I have to say that to my patients too. It's like, I'm not a primary care physician. I can't advise you on medical things, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to give you things that will help, things to do that you could do to feel well in the fall. But I will say that this is super generalized. So if you're a person that has different other TCM patterns going on in your body, this is why you would see an acupuncturist or a practitioner of East Asian medicine, is because what the advice could be for you might be a little bit different from the things that I'm saying. But these are just generalized. So we're going to go through them one by one. So here are actual things that can help you feel less hit by a bus in the fall. The first one is to regulate your life, regulate your daily life. So we're transitioning from summer to winter. We're going from cool to cold. Well, I mean, summer was warm, but here we are now. We're going from cool to cold. So in TCM, the yang qi shifts from outward dispersion to inward constriction. Why? Because we are trying to store vital essence for the winter. Liken this to a bear who is collecting food for the winter. Our bodies are trying to preserve before it gets to cold, right? So how do we support this process? We get up early and we go to bed early. And if at all humanly possible, we get outside first thing in the morning. Getting outside first thing in the morning can be really, really useful because it can kind of like reset the system and help to reduce any like fogginess, ease the transition into being awake. The second is to dress yourself properly. So we're talking not too many layers where you're sweating. You're not trying to sweat here. But not any clothing so that way you freeze. So think baby bear. And each day might be different too. So that's also important to say, is like you need to have a full range of clothing and have it accessible to you because, as you know, the mornings are super cold, but it might warm up during the day and then it might cool down again. So having that proper clothing is really going to help. We're susceptible to the common cold this time of year because of dryness, because of season change, because of the susceptibility to our lungs. And so in traditional Chinese medicine, there's a concept of the wind gate. So the wind gate is considered an area in the body that's especially susceptible to pathogenic influence. And that wind gate is on the back of the neck. So the back of the neck, the back of the like shoulder blades area. And so this is why you will see acupuncturists wear turtlenecks, scarves around themselves. We are trying to protect our wind gate, right? We don't want to get sick. We want to keep ourselves nice and cozy. And listen, your girl loves a crop top, but this ain't the time to be wearing, like, you don't want to expose your back at all, really, during this time. So like not your low back, not your upper back. Keep yourself nice and warm. You want your body to be protected from the elements. Okay, like I said, exogenous disease evils can attack the body through the exterior. The pathogenic factors are wind, cold, heat, fire, damp, and dry. And so, like I said, that would manifest as a flu or a cold to the body. So next is we have to regulate our emotions. So, and I love talking about this shit. Okay. The emotion is grief. And we have to feel our feelings, but it's common to have feelings of being desolate, dreary, feeling like you're old or feeble or like depressed or restless. But this is the time to focus on optimism and gratitude. We all need to fucking reframe, right? It's like we need a reframe on fall. And we need to think of this as like a fruitful harvest instead of, oh my God, I'm going to freeze my ass off. And now we're plunging into winter and it sucks, right? So we all need a shift. We need a shift. We need to let go of things that no longer serve us. We need to let go of emotion and sadness. We need to acknowledge our grief. It's not like we're saying, okay, don't feel your feelings, but we are saying, feel your feelings and let them the fuck go, right? We need to practice gratitude. That is a surefire way to shift ourselves from feeling depressed and down about this time of year to feeling excited and happy and all the things. So next, we've got to regulate our diet. This time of year is ascribed to dry, so humidity drops. Shit is dry. And I don't know what kind of heat you have in your house, but we have baseboard heat. And we also have a wood insert, like a wood fire insert. And the shit is dry. Like mucous membranes, lips, all the things. Dry as fug. Okay? So when you're dry and you're lusterless, and you've got all the cracks and you're just like, ugh, I'm like a fucking raisin. You need to drink warm fluids. Okay? Drink warm fluids. Eat more fruit and vegetables, but make sure it's cooked because this time of year, we want to reduce the stress on our digestive system. We want our digestive fire to be firing on all cylinders, if you will, right? So that means that we should be roasting. We should start like stir frying or poaching our fruits and vegetables. But what I want to say is, if you are a person who's dry skin, dry nose, dry lungs, pears. Pears are super duper helpful. So pears, they help moisten the lung. So if you can do like a poached pear, or even putting like a bunch of pears in an Instant Pot for like 2 to 3 minutes, sprinkle a tiny bit of cinnamon on those babies, and like that is good. Eat it warmed though. Eat it warmed, but that will help moisten the lung. Other foods and ways in which you can strengthen your digestive fire. So rice congee. Rice congee is like rice porridge, basically. You can add all the like mixings to it and all the stuff. So pears, which we already talked about, carrots, sesame seeds, white radish, basically like all the white foods, things that are white. We've got white beans, white leeks, white onions, white fish, white pepper, white mushrooms, white asparagus. Ooh, so good. And we also want to avoid grease, because grease is just going to muck up our digestive system, and our stuff isn't going to be firing and working as properly as it should. It's basically inviting that dampness and that kind of gunk into our GI system. You can also include pungent flavors as well, like garlic, ginger, like the warming spices, white pepper. Those also help to invigorate the lungs and protect us from exterior pathogenic influences. That pungent sort of acrid taste, super useful. So like in the Western world, you have like good diet, bad diet. In TCM, Eastern Dietary Therapy, it's very much like balance and like not a one size fits all thing for everybody. And so what I don't hear people talking about is like ways in which to support their digestive system, not by just food. So what am I talking about? Mindful eating. I'm talking about chewing our food thoroughly. I'm talking about not being with people that stress you out when you're trying to eat. So the way in which the food is assimilated to us is really important. The circumstances surround our eating conditions are important. So that's one thing that I don't think is really touched upon from a Western perspective, but in TCM, super important. Next, let's talk about physical training and exercise. So actually, this is the best time of year to train. But if you are training outside, you should be cold acclimatizing. What does that mean? It means that you are getting outside sooner than later to allow your body to acclimatize. And so this builds body resistance. This builds strength, and it helps you to conserve energy when you're outside and exercising. But other ways in which you can exercise, Tai Chi or Qigong, super amazing. So not everybody has access to like classes in terms of Tai Chi or Qigong, but there's a shit ton of free YouTube videos and resources on YouTube. But getting outside this time of year, nature walks, super awesome. And then this is included under physical training is breath work, right? And this makes a lot of sense. So the other thing to mention is exercise helps keep the bowels moving as well. And when we were talking about the paired organs, we're talking about lung and large intestine. The large intestine is super duper important in that they do similar functions, right? They take in the pure, they let out the turbid. So we got to stay moving so that way we keep pooping, right? So those two things, super related. Ever wonder why when you get sick, you get sometimes constipated? Yeah, they're related. Those two things are related. Okay, we also have to create a regular routine. So this isn't the time of year to like switch up a bunch of shit. You need to establish your routine, make it steady, stay grounded in those routines to create balance and conserve energy. So what does that mean? Regular sleeping, regular eating, regular exercise, all the things together. So those are my tips for fall for health preservation. So just in summary, because, Cliff Notes version, I am who I am. Okay, we can help ourselves in the fall by going to bed early, waking up early, getting outside, especially early morning, dressing ourselves properly, keeping the back of our bodies warm and covered, right? Regulating our emotions, processing, being with our real human emotions. We're not trying to banish anything. We're not trying to pretend like nothing's happening. We're processing emotion and we're letting go of what no longer serves us. Regular sleeping, which I think I said, regular eating, regular exercise routine. All of these things, super duper helpful to aid you as you transition into the fall. If you guys like this and you are into it, I'm really happy to do this every single season because I just think that we should all have the information of how to best support ourselves during different seasons, because amazing in traditional Chinese medicine, that is a major theme here. We're not just we're not robots that are just like going through the motions. Like as things change in our macrocosm, microcosm, remember, we are impacted by our exterior world. So that is why we need to modify what we do in different seasons in order to help ourselves. So I think that's all I have for you today. Damn. I feel like that wasn't too bad here. I just wanted to say too that thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for following. Thank you for liking and sharing and reviewing. It means everything to me, and I really enjoy doing these offerings. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I just wanted to say stay tuned because I've got some really awesome stuff like on the docket coming up. And I'm really excited to share. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me on the Good Podcast, and I will see you in the next episode.